to sleep, I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again, I pray the Lord that I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again, I pray the Lord that I wake again.
Welcome to Dinner with the Coaches. I am your host, Nadira Lewis, and I have my amazing co-host here, Thomas Taylor III. How are you, Coach?
Hey, good evening. Simply marvelous, young lady. Better than good and better than most. Always a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, we just wanted to tell each and every one of you, thank you guys for watching. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you click the like, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. If you are watching us via Facebook, make sure you click like and share if you are enjoying the coaching that you are seeing with me and the amazing Coach T over here. So, Coach Thomas, what are we going to talk about today? You want to introduce to our audience our topic for today?
Yeah. It's just going to be you and I this evening, but we're going to talk about something that I think a lot of people want to hear and talk about, and we're going to kind of do it in two halves, right? The first half, we're going to talk about, are you allowing excuses to hold you back? That's going to be the first half. Then the second half, we're going to go a little deeper, and we're going to talk about, do you make excuses once you understand your gifts?
Ooh.
Wow. Because once you know, now are you a little bit nervy, a little bit kind of frightened, because now you have to move, right? Faith without works is dead, right? So if you do know, now are you making excuses not to move forward?
Wow. So you guys are in for a treat. But before we actually get into our topic, we're going to play this video real quick, and then we'll be back after this.
Long before the beginning of all other beginnings, God is. In a burst of creative activity, God creates the world and everything in it. Humans are designed to live inside of this unique relationship, but they choose otherwise. The law of God is broken, and the heart of God is pierced. But the story isn't over. In the fullness of time, God gives his Son, born of a woman, born under the law. Jesus comes to seek and save those who are lost. Wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. On the cross, God is in Christ, reconciling the world to himself. And with a loud cry, Jesus breathes his last. But the story isn't over. On the morning of the third day, the power of the living God erupts, breaking through death with the moment that will define all other moments. Perched at the edge of heaven, the angels stand in awe as one of their own rolls away the stone that's guarding the body of Jesus. As if anything can guard Jesus. He walks out of the tomb alive. He is victorious. He is conquering death and rendering the grave unnecessary. He is living and moving and breathing as only the risen Son of God can. But the story isn't over. We are, every one of us, searching and hoping and longing for life. It's a desire that's been deposited into our souls by the very same God who spoke it all into existence. And it's this exact life that the resurrection of Jesus invites us into. So bring your hopes, your regrets, your successes, and your failures, Bring your doubts, your joys, your fears, and your dreams. Be resolute and unwilling to settle for anything less than the abundant life of the risen King. Because truly, if the story isn't over, then what happens next might just change everything.
Nice. Wow.
Ooh, I got chills.
Wow, that was nice. Looked like a movie starring Charlton Heston or somebody, boy. You know, 10 Commandments Part 2, boy.
Wow.
Yeah, that was good.
Story is not
Yeah.
over. Your story
Yes,
is
awesome.
over. Mm.
Yeah, look at Charmaine said commercials are fire. Yeah, yeah, that was awesome, man. That was awesome.
Woo, thank you, Charmaine. Woo, I'm trying
Yeah.
to cry. Like, wow.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like
awesome, man.
I feel like
Yeah.
there's a fire lit up, and it's so befitting for the title today.
Yeah,
What we're
yeah.
talking about. It's time to do what we need to do.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. That was awesome because it tells a story though, right? Like it's not over, it's not done. Just if you believe, right? Just if you believe in something higher than yourself, then that means we all have work to do. Right.
Yeah.
Every single one of us that's listening, right? So now we can get right into our topic in terms of, are we allowing excuses to hold us back? Right. And that's real important. And I read this morning, you know, when I was going through, you know, a process about excuses, right? And the definition, and Coach Tyke was like, hey, I like that, T, man. I'm gonna get that one from you. I said, hey, you know, no problem, man. I'll send it to you, you know. It says excuses. Excuses are the tools of the incompetent, which builds monuments to nothing. And those that specialize in them seldom accomplish anything else.
Whoa. Wow.
See, are we mastering in excuses? Just enough to hold us back, right? Just enough not to give us the confidence to move forward, to do the things that we know that our Creator has given us the ability to do and or accomplish, right? But do we allow what your mama said, what your daddy didn't do, maybe your daddy wasn't there, or what your auntie said, right? Or what they said, you was never gonna be this, and you just like your mama, she wasn't nothing, you ain't nothing, just like your daddy, right? Do you allow those things, right? Because sometimes they ring in our head, right? The individuals may be long gone. The words may not physically be coming out of their mouth, but it resonates in our conscious and in our subconscious, right? So when you close your eyes, when you meditate, when you slow down, now you start to think about it, because unfortunately we do such a great job in talking ourselves out of things.
Right.
Not thinking that we are deserving of certain blessings and, you know, certain wins. And we try to justify and make excuses as to why we're not good enough sometimes, right? Because when you actually take on that mantle, when you realize you are, now you cannot just stand there and not do anything. Because now each and every one of us that's listening, we have a responsibility. Right? Now, we can make excuses that kind of insulates and keeps us comfortable. Right? And nobody will challenge that, Nadira.
That's true.
Nobody will say nothing. If you make a decision not to get out of bed for the next week, outside of your kids, they may be a little hungry because you're not cooked for the little ones. They'll be bothering you. But outside of that, nobody's coming to your house and knocking on the door and asking you why you didn't get out of bed.
Right.
Right? So you can make all types of excuses why you can't and why you shouldn't do things, right? Or we can challenge ourselves to put ourselves in a tough position, right? And that tough position is lead. It's leadership, right? I mentored some young boys for the last few weeks. I started at a elementary school, and I talked to them about leadership, right? And I showed them. I put it on a board because one said, "Well, I object." I said, "Okay, you object?" He's like, "Yeah, I feel that." Yeah, it was comical, man. I feel that you can be in the back and you still can lead.
Ooh.
I said, "Ooh." I said, okay. Now these are fourth graders. These are fourth graders. I said, "Okay,
Wow, that's
I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that." I said, "So let me go to the board." So I went to the board and I put dots on the board. Put dots on the top, middle, and the bottom. And I pointed to a dot. I said, "Okay, what is this person? Is this person a follower or a leader?" They said, "A follower." I said, "Well, why?" "Well, because he's kind of in the back." I said, "Okay, well, what about the guy to the left and to the right of him and right in front of him?" They said, "Well, okay, well, he actually can be leading. Yeah, he could be leading this guy to the left of him, maybe even helping the guy in front of him, or even helping the guy to the right of him." They's like, okay, all right. So then I pointed and I put an arrow to show the direction that everybody was going in, right? So I said, okay. I said, so based upon your comment, I said, what is this guy on the top? Is he a leader or is he a follower? "Oh, no, Mr. T, he's a leader. He's a leader." Okay. Good answer. Why? Because he's in the front. Come on, somebody. I said, now you understand. It's like, oh, okay. We understand. Now, it's not to say that the person in the back is not a leader, right? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you're looking for a leader, you're going to look in the front. You're not going to look in the back, right? So we can make excuses as to why we're in the back, right? Or we can do what's necessary to be in the front, right? It's a scary place because in the front there's more liability than in the back. There's more criticism in the front than in the back. See? People are not throwing darts and tomatoes at people in the back. No, they throwing at the person on the stage. Right. And sometimes we as individuals, we cannot handle the criticism that comes with being an example of leadership.
And I think it's like that because we don't understand the importance or the role of feedback. Because we think that we don't understand the importance of getting feedback on how, which is another way of becoming accountable, like you said. So most people don't want to be accountable for the things that they say or do. So it's a little bit more harder. It's easier to hide in the back because you don't have to be accountable for the things that you say. So when you know that you're accountable for the things that you say less and do more. Yeah. And you're more aware of the direct and indirect consequences of your words. So, and it all boils down to this, and I say this: there is no way around when we talk about making excuses. There's no way around you doing the work to become aware and discover the gifts that God has placed on the inside of you to function the way you were designed to function. There is no way around it. How when we were younger, we used to sing that song, "You can't go around it, can't go over." There is no way. There is no quick tool, quick advice to get around knowing who you are. You can try to do all the 1, 2, 3 ABCs, but you still have to do the work. You have to do what's necessary in your personal. You have to grow and work on your personal development so that because your gift is already perfect, right? We have to work on ourselves so that we can present our gifts in a way that we don't have to be. So our accountability is less harsh.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So question. So why do you think? And this is just a question. Why do you think we use excuses not to do something? Why do you think that?
Lack of clarity.
Okay.
I believe when there's a lack of clarity in what you're supposed to be doing, then what happens is you make excuses to show up, right? You are clear in the vision that you know that God is giving you. When you're clear in the vision, then there is no, you may not have the right strategy, but if you're clear, you're gonna go on, you're gonna do it unperfect, you're gonna do it scared, you're gonna do it without the right tools, you're gonna do it. When I started in business, I didn't have, though I was very clear about what it is that I wanted to do, I didn't have strategy. So I felt like if I didn't have strategy, then I can't really do what I'm supposed to do effectively, right?
Okay.
So when I started out, and a lot of the stuff you can see in my earlier videos and some of the things that I did, I look crazy. Sometimes, sometimes my video went out sometimes for 10 minutes at a time. I stumbled over my words because I didn't feel like I communicated my thought process properly, because I didn't take the time to slow down, right? I was clear about what I needed to do. And a lot of it too was fear. When you're fearful, you're not going to, I think people are, when they don't have clarity, when there's fear, they tend to kind of hold back because they have most of the time our problem is not with our gift. It's more so with us. We never struggle about what God has given us internally to do. We never struggle with that. We only struggle with us showing up the right way to be able to display or manifest what we feel like the gift that God has given us, is what I feel.
So as coaches, and for those that are listening out there, let's kind of help our listening audience, right? So the next question is, why do you feel most people have a lack of clarity?
I think people have a lack of clarity because they don't take the time to sit still and really work on just being still, because sometimes we're so busy. We're so busy trying to trying to, instead of just being. Well, you can't really be until there's clarity, and clarity comes as a sense of just being still. And sometimes it takes self-discovery, putting yourself in self-discovery mode. Just like with Wi-Fi, when we want to have access to the Wi-Fi, what we do, we put our phone on self-discovery, right? So that our phones can identify with the Wi-Fi so that we can connect. I think what happens is we just don't take the time to sit still and really dig and connect with the source, the person that's responsible for giving us the gifts and talents that we have. We try to figure it out on our own, but we only can go but so far. It's hard. You can unplug the power source, a cord from the computer. It might last for a little while. You might get a little bit of juice, but as long as it's connected to the power source, there's a never-ending source of energy and power that's coming through, feeding that computer with everything it needs to function. And I feel like it's the same way with us. I feel like the more we're connected to the source, then I think the more we'll have an influx of information, and he'll be able to download things into us so that we can be able to know exactly what it is. Most of us, we don't do that. We just we kind of like fiddle around playing the dirt until we figure out something will snap,
Yeah.
But I really truly believe that the product cannot fully tell you what it's capable of. You need the manufacturer, which is why, like I said before in previous broadcasts, when you buy an iPhone, you don't ask the iPhone how it works, right? You read the manual. The manual describes the manufacturer's intent on how the iPhone is supposed to work. How many of us read the book? None of us. We go straight to the iPhone and we try to figure it out. And we may get some functionality, some basic functionality, but some people have their phone for 5 years before they realize that their iPhone is capable of doing way more if they had taken the time to read the manual.
Yeah, now that's a good point, right? So for the last 5 minutes or so, as coaches, here's one formula I would give a client is go to their manufacturer, right? Go to their creator and look at the book that he utilized and he gave us as a blueprint to help us with clarity. So if you flip through that book somewhere in Matthew, somewhere 7 and 8, so somewhere around there for that book that some of us read, 66 chapters or 66 books, it says something about asking.
Yeah.
See? So if you're looking for clarity, you have to ask.
You have to ask.
If you ask, you might receive. Then if you keep reading, if you seek, you just might find.
Mm-hmm.
And if you knock, the door just might be open, right?
Absolutely.
So those that are listening, if you're looking for clarity, like Nadira talked about, but you don't know why you don't have clarity, you're not clear, you may want to ask for clarity on something that you feel is placed inside of your spirit, right? Ask the person, the provider who you feel that placed it there, right? Just very basic, just very simplistic, right? Why? Because when you couldn't do for yourself, and those that were around you could do for you, maybe your mother, maybe an auntie, maybe a father, like whatever adult that was around, because everybody's circumstances is different, and you wanted something, you typically asked a benefactor. You asked a person, an individual who you felt can help you.
Right.
Very simple. Well, why'd you do that? Because you were in a position and or a place in your life where you couldn't do it for yourself. So you asked. So this is what happened. So now you move forward, and now you become a full adult, and now you primarily can do things on your own. And a part of that challenge is we keep that philosophy and we forget to ask. Because we feel as an adult, we don't have to ask no more because we can handle it, we can get it, we can do it, we can sustain ourselves. Now we have children that are asking us.
Yes.
Right? And now that quote unquote benefactor, mother, sister, auntie, uncle, father, somebody, they're not as, reliable anymore. So we forget that even though we asked a human, a person, there was another source behind that person and or in front of that person that allowed that person to be that benefactor. But we wasn't taught this because that level was above our consciousness.
I like that.
Right? It was above us. So we just asked the individual that we felt could provide it for us. And when they did, sometimes they became our God. And we missed, because now when that individual provided for us, guess what they unfortunately did and or do? They remind us that they provided for us.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's so good. That is so true.
Every chance they get, they remind us that they were the ones when you couldn't provide for yourself, they provided for you.
Yeah.
So now here goes the guilt trip that you owe them something.
Right.
So much so you get distracted on the real provider. Because this individual is putting pressure on you like you owe them something. Because they were at that time your benefactor and provided what you needed.
That's so true.
So now it's full adults. Now instead of going around that individual and going directly to the source, we make excuses. We make excuses because we got this additional pressure on us. Yeah. And now if we bypass that benefactor and go directly to the source and become something bigger or greater than that person, now we created another issue, a void per se. Now that relationship could be damaged. Because now, Nadira, oh, you think you all that? Oh, you think you better than me now?
Right.
Oh, now you don't need me? Mm-hmm. Oh, now you can do all for yourself?
Right.
Oh, but when you needed somebody, I was, you see?
Right.
You all that? Right? I wish we had a live audience, boy. I wish we had a live audience, boy. Ooh, you know, people understand. Right? So now don't forget, we talking about excuses now, right? Mm-hmm. Are we talking about excuses? Yeah, we talking about excuses, right? We should talk about excuses.
Right.
So the reason why I use those analogies is because now it becomes easier for us not to stand in our rightful position and make excuses why we should not, because of what they might say about us.
True. I think too, when we get a visual, right, for some of us that do have a clue, right, of what we're supposed to do or the direction that we have to go, it requires you to be a different person. Sometimes people are afraid of the work that's going to go in, that's going to be involved in becoming that person. So they see where, and that's why I did a commercial one time and I said, do you struggle sometimes with who you are now versus who you know you ought to be, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes people are afraid of what do I have to do to become the person, because in the reality is you do have to become a different person to fulfill that area in your life. There's no area of growth in our life that doesn't require us to be a different person. Right. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people, and we all know that in order to become a different person because of experience is a great teacher, right? Mm-hmm. You also know that sometimes things have to happen. Sometimes trials come, right, to shape and mold us into the person that we need to be in order to be able to function at the level that we need to be. So sometimes people are nervous of that because they're like, yeah, you know, I've been this, I know what I see where I need to be, but woo, that looks like a lot of work. Like I'm gonna have to give up. I'm gonna have to sacrifice. That means I'm gonna have to stop watching TV all day long. That means I'm gonna have to start reading some books. That means I'm gonna change my circle. They're afraid of what they're going to lose as a result of becoming the person that they need to be, because they are attached to where they are now and not realizing that if you're not growing, stagnation could be a firm signal for regression.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh. Yeah. Wow. That's deep, boy. Yeah, I think we need to go to commercial break after that one, man, and come back and dig on that one, chew on that one a little bit more as we get into our next title, boy. Woo! We can do this all night long, boy.
Yes,
all night long.
Yes. Well, we're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick commercial. And after this, we're going to continue with our subject on, are you allowing excuses to hold you back? We'll be right back after this. If you need a coach and you need clarity, strategy, or mindset and execution, get coaching from a team of experts. Make sure you send us a message in our inbox at the @handle Dinner with the Coaches. Make sure you also click share and subscribe if you are watching us on YouTube or Facebook. All right, and we are back with Dinner with the Coaches. If you guys are just now watching, woo, I tell you, the first half. If you are just jumping on, make sure you hit hashtag replay if you're watching us. If you are watching this after the broadcast, we'd love to hear your feedback and your comments. And we would also love to know where you are watching from. So if you are watching from different areas around the world, make sure you put in the comment section where you're watching from. And if you need a coach, make sure you send a message to Thomas and I at the @handle at Dinner with Coaches, and we'll love to help you develop clarity, strategy, and execution on whatever it is that God has called you to do. Thomas?
Hey, boy, that was a live commercial right there, boy. Live commercial. Right on the spot. Live commercial, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so based upon your last comment, we kind of going to get a little bit deep in the last 20 minutes here, and we're going to talk about, do you make excuses, right? So, for myself, one of the main topics that I talked about, and I'm talking about this year, is your gifts versus your skills, right? So every time I have that conversation, it sparks up a lot of dialogue because nobody's really talking about that, right? So that's kind of my theme for the year, is really helping people understand that those two are diametrically opposed. So in the vein of excuses, do you make excuses once you know and once you're clear and once you understand what your gifts are? What your actual gifts are, not your skills, right? Because we lean more into our skills. But now, once you understand what it is that's been burning inside of you, that's been tapping on you in your quiet time and in your meditation, once you know and identify and understand what that is, are you making excuses not to move forward, Nadira? What's your thought process on that? I know. Take your time.
That's a deep one. I think sometimes people may do it and don't realize that they do it. I did a
Make excuses.
Yes. And I say that because I did a video about a month ago and I said, are you prepping or are you using the excuse for preparation? Is it preparation or procrastination?
Yeah.
And I talked about how there are sometimes we know what it is that we're supposed to do, and we just have that time frame where we need to prepare, right? And so we go through that season of preparation. But then there are some of us who know we should be doing and walking out. We already have everything that we need. I mean, we have the information, we have the strategy, we have the coaching, but we don't do it, and we use preparation as an excuse not to execute.
Yeah.
So I think that once we realize that done is better than perfect,
or when perfect never gets done.
Where perfect never gets done. It's always the start that stops people, because we live in a society where, especially in social media, where video and lights, camera, action, everything is beautiful, highlight, the lighting is beautiful. But when we feel like we can't perform at the level that we see ourselves at, we make excuses for not starting. When you gotta start, that's the hardest part. Once you get started, you get better as you go. So yes, I think that sometimes we do know, we have an idea, we have all the help and strategy, the clarity, we just don't execute because of the fear of not being able to see ourselves as we know we could be.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and we talked about the difference between being busy and being productive.
Being productive.
And being productive, right? Two separate things, right? And I kind of, sometimes find myself busy and less productive as I need to be. So as coaches, right, we just want to help those that are listening. If you're kind of struggling in that area in terms of, or you feel that what your gifts are, but you just have not made a decision to actually execute, we challenge you to feel the fear, because that's kind of really what's holding you back, right? feel the fear, and like they say, and do it anyway, right? So I use myself as an example, and I'm an open book, and got challenged my coach about a year or so ago, myself and the community, to go live, right? To do the things that we say we are, right? If you're a coach, if you're a speaker, if you're a real estate agent, like just whatever you say you are, do people know that that's what you do? So he challenged us to go live, right? So most of us took the challenge, right? But during the process, just about, the majority of everybody did it one time, maybe twice, and then they stopped. Well, I just kept going. A year later, I'm still going. Year and almost a half, I'm still going. Have a community. But what happened inside of that, though, the more I did it, the better I got, right? The more people start to tune in, the more people start to watch. Now, was it fearful? Yeah, in the beginning, right? So much so now my wife is doing Facebook Live, and we did one together last week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she was nervous, she was fearful, but I told her, I said, this will be the worst you'll ever be. She's like, what'd you say? I said, yeah, you won't be this worse never again. She just started laughing, man. Yeah, because you'll always get better. And as coaches, we want to encourage individuals that's listening.
Mm-hmm.
We understand where you are.
Yes.
We understand that you might be a little bit afraid. You might be fearful. Right? And that's okay. Like that doesn't mean that you can't do it. That doesn't mean that, you won't do it. Now, will people have something to say about it? Of course, because that's what people do, right? But don't let that be the barrier that stops you, right? We're just encouraging you, right, not to utilize that as an excuse not to do it, though. Right. See? Because once you know what it is, now you really are responsible to move in it. And we promise you'll grow, right? The more you do it, the more you grow, and you'll learn, right? And it's okay, right? It's okay to learn, and it's okay to grow. But you'll look back 2 years from now, and you'll see yourself in a whole different place. And now the last thing, and then you could jump in, Nadira, is if you really believe that you have that particular gift, this is the challenge, ladies and gentlemen, those that are listening. And I said this to a friend before, and I'm gonna use this analogy. If you listen to the weatherman, and the weatherman said that it was gonna rain tomorrow, Nadira, but you had an appointment to go on, right? You just did your hair's all nice, you all looking pretty, and you left the house. You didn't take an umbrella, okay? And you got outside, and you was a little bit upset, but you didn't take an umbrella though. Right? So now the question is, did you believe the weatherman? If you believe the weatherman, you would have prepared for rain. But if you didn't believe, you would have left the house without an umbrella, because you say, well, that 50% they right and 50% they wrong. So it might rain, it might not rain. So the question is, if you feel that you know the gift that your creator has placed inside of you, the question is, are you preparing? Because the preparation is in direct proportion to your belief.
Right.
It's hard to say you believe something, but you don't prepare for it. Right? Because unfortunately, sometimes we want to see something before we believe. But that's not faith. That's an excuse. Because if you really truly believe it, you would prepare for it. Nadira?
I can almost hear some of the people that are watching and that may watch. The number one thing people always are concerned with is timing.
Okay.
How do I know the timing? I know my gift. I know that I'm called to do something. How do I know the timing? I'm going to answer that for you, right? Preparation prepares you for timing.
That's good.
Let me say that again. Preparation prepares you for timing. How do I know that? I know that because in preparation, there's something, it's almost like setting a trap, right? You're setting yourself for a trigger, right? In the midst of us preparing to do whatever it is that we're supposed to do, there is a invisible trigger that's being set up on the inside of us as we prepare, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually. It's like an emotion, it's like a trigger is prepared when we prepare, right? And then what happens is when whatever it is that God placed on the inside of you begins to start to tick, there's certain things that attract, that cause that trigger to go off, right? And I say that because before I did what I did, right? Before I started doing this whole video thing and start talking, I was good behind the scenes. I talk to one, I'm good, right? My preparation was my private time talking when I lived in a shelter and I was talking to women all the time, right? I didn't care. I didn't see the future as I see it now, right? All I saw was I'm just trying to get through the moment, not realizing it was preparation for where I was going to be. I was taking wisdom and I was gaining wisdom from the experiences that I was getting. I was preparing as I was sharing my experiences and helping them extract wisdom nuggets and turning in them into life lessons for other people. Not even realize it. My preparation, it caused me to get to a point where it just one day I just stood up and I was just like, I turned on the camera one day. And I remember I was talking about, and I didn't even know I was going to be planning on doing this, right? And I was talking about grief. Something triggered me to jump online because of the preparation. That internal trigger, something got in the trap.
Yep. Come on.
Trapped on the inside of me and caused and triggered me, right? To respond to a particular need, emotion, or dysfunction or whatever. I got on the video and I remember I was sitting at my desk and I just got on and I said, I just want to talk to you. And I started to look in the camera and I started to talk to everybody who was dealing with or may have been dealing with what I was dealing with at the time, which was
grief.
When I got online, all of these people showed up, viewers, and I was like, whoa, everybody showed up because in preparation, I knew that I was prepping for something. I just didn't know for what, right? I started to share my experiences. I started to share the process of what I was going through, and it triggered something on the inside of me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this again. And I started to prepare myself offline because I realized that whether I'm talking to one person, 10 people, I didn't care about how many people were watching because I felt like if I had the faithful one, I felt like it was good. I never really got caught up on numbers on how many people were watching and how many. I just knew if one person logged on to hear, that was good enough for me because that was evidence that that what I was saying was resonating with someone. Now your gift may not be speaking. Your gift may be teaching. Your gift may be just walking in love. Your gift may be helping somebody, right? All of us are given different gifts according to the grace of God that's given to us. And so I knew that I was an encourager. I knew that I was becoming a woman of wisdom. I didn't know what I was becoming at the time. I knew something was happening. And the thought just popped in my head, becoming a woman of Proverbs. And the reason why I identify with becoming, which means I'm always growing and developing into a woman of wisdom, meaning that I was extracting the lessons, right, from the things that I was dealing with and going through and using them as a life lesson for other people. My victory my victories over the things that I was going through was becoming a survival guide for other women, right? And so I say all that just to say that when you start to prepare, don't worry about the timing. It'll be like a trigger. It'll just set off. You won't have to say, is this the time? You'll know the time, because something inside of you will cause you to just burst out and just be. Just like we don't know when a butterfly turns. A butterfly, I'm sure, doesn't know ahead of time when they're going to be. What a caterpillar doesn't know. They're going to automatically turn into a butterfly. The timing is built inside of them, so you don't have to worry about timing. You just have to worry about preparing yourself, working on yourself individually, working on yourself, working on who you are. Because once you start working on your personal development, you get better at communicating what it is that you need to communicate. Those triggers start to line up, and you begin to position yourself in places where people just come, and people that need to hear what you have to say. You don't have to send out a wave signal. It's like a person you never see with Tylenol. When you see somebody who's in pain, they search out Tylenol. They don't. Tylenol has made it known. Tylenol positioned itself to know that if you have pain, in arthritis,
call me.
What it takes to cure that pain. So when you prepare, part of preparing yourself is positioning yours. You begin to position yourself, and timing is just a matter of time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I mean, your life experiences, they teach us a lot, right? And here at Dinner with the Coaches, that's why we created this, right? Just to be in a position to share with individuals that's listening, right? Because you're not alone, right? If you're out there listening to Nadira and myself, you're not by yourself. We're just bringing to light and shedding some light on particular topics, even when we have guests that a lot of people are dealing with, but don't necessarily have anybody to reach out to just to have regular conversation with, right? Or just to give them some nuggets that can help them, right? Just think about your story, Nadira, of pain, right? And I look at it as triumph, right? Because you made it through, right? And on the other side of that, you have two beautiful children, two beautiful girls who look at you as, everything, you know what I mean? Like, and you provide everything for them, right? So your creator still have given you the mantle, the ability to, right? Be that benefactor for them, even despite everything that went on around them. I mean, it's so triumphant, because a lot of people just tap out. A lot of people, they just kind of give up, right? You didn't do that. Right. You didn't do that.
Right. And environment has a lot to do with it too. When you we don't do a good job at cultivating our environment so that we can set those proper triggers, right? Because we're comparing ourselves to people that are around us that are not, and we're not really being motivated to do and to go forward, because our environment is not conducive to help us spearhead us in the right direction. Your environment, you may not be able to change where you live, right? You may not be able to change what your living situations, but you can always change your thought process. And that was one of the things, one thing I've learned at an early age. Oh man, even in my early 20s, I learned I can change the way, if I can change the way I can think, I can change everything around me. So I started to be very intentional about my environments. I lived in New Jersey, Thomas. I was a 21-year-old mother of two.
Wow.
And I remember saying, I need a change. And I'm not going to just declare a change. I'm going to make the change. I moved 2,000 miles away as a 21-year-old who didn't have no money, who got on a plane with, and I'm not suggesting that you do that. My faith was there, right? And I was led by God to do that. I knew at 21 years old that I needed to get in an environment that was going to be conducive to my growth, because I knew if I wanted something different, I had to do something different. It's a saying that said, there's a saying that said it's insanity to think that you know, that you can be, that you're going to want something to change. I may not be saying exactly right, but you get the picture.
Yeah. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting it to change. Yeah, amen.
Change. I knew I had to be in a different environment in order to grow into the person that I saw myself becoming, right? And so to me, taking chances was my adrenaline rush. Like, I loved to take chances. I was a woman. I didn't even know it was faith at that time. I just knew that I wanted something different. I knew it was possible based on what I believed. And I acted on it. I moved 2,000 miles away.
You was out. You was gone.
Out with a 7-month-old baby and a 4-year-old daughter. I moved 2,000 miles away to start a new life, just to expose myself and my children to a different lifestyle, right? And when I did that, it set the precedence of how I thought afterwards. So nothing was impossible. So it was like, that's all I needed to do is just act on what it is that I wanted to do. And that became my mindset. I think I started to become a worrier and started to stress when I started to realize my limitations. When I saw my limitations and my environment was no longer conducive.
Yeah.
I started to succumb to the internal fears of what if, well, you can't do this, well, you're only this age and you're a single mom and you don't have this much money and you this. And I started to think about all these things. I started allowing my environment. Yeah,
product of your environment, man. Yeah, amen.
And I remember my daughter said to me one time, she said, Mom, I remember you had crazy faith. What happened? I said, life. I got too comfortable with I've allowed my environment to become conducive to, and it's like, and I started to just succumb to my environment. And then at one day, it's like, I don't know, it's just like a light bulb hit me one day. And I said, you know what? I looked at my family and I seen all of my immediate family move to Florida. And I thought, what if I wouldn't have made that step? I look at all of the things that has happened as a result of me making a move.
Okay.
Now my nephews, I look at their children and I'm like, wow, they wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
If I didn't make that step, if I didn't make that step out of the comfort zone, my family wouldn't be where they are now. Now they're all in Florida. You can't even get them to cross the state line. They they won't even cross the state line. No, we good. We love it here. And I think to myself, what if I had not taken that step of faith? And change my environment? What if I didn't make that call? I called up my girlfriend at the time. I didn't even know her phone number, right? I called 411. I was sitting at my desk and called 411 and said, I need to get in touch with such and such, and asked for the phone number. And I said, I don't even know her phone number, but if you could call her and let me leave a message. 411.
Fine with that. Yeah, for real.
Just let me leave a message. The lady said, I found the person who you're looking for, but I can't give you her number. I said, but I can let you leave a message. Now, what if I would have gave up?
Yeah.
And said, no, I'm not gonna do it. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna I tried, but I stepped in and I left a message and I trusted that she called me back and she said, and we set up arrangements for me to move to Florida. But I often think, what if I didn't make that? What if I allowed that one roadblock to block me? Where would my family be today? Where would I be today?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have even known you, Coach.
Nah, not at all, boy. That's a travesty, boy.
I wouldn't have even known you. I wouldn't even known the people that I know now. I wouldn't have made the connections that I did now. I knew, and let me tell you how important I realized timing was. When I got off that plane, right? I was the last person to enter into a program. The last person to enter into a program they were hiring at the time at Convergys. And we were hiring, I think it was for AT&T or something, or Lucent Technology. It was for Lucent Technologies. I was the last person to get in.
Back in the 90s.
In the 90s. If I was the last person to get in, if I would have not got in, I would have missed all the people who got strategically placed in my life to get me through the years that I was getting ready to face.
Man.
Timing.
That's
you don't
awesome.
have to worry about timing. Listen to me. You don't have to worry about timing. Preparation prepares you for timing.
Awesome, man. And that, we're gonna end with that. But that's a great example, everyone, of two things: leadership, because you took the lead, right? You stood out there, you stepped out there, and we all know that once you change, everything around you changes. And guess what? You didn't make excuses, because I'm sure you had a whole list that you could have pulled from if you wanted to make an excuse to do it, not to go, right? You didn't make excuses. You know what I mean? You took ownership, you took leadership, and now look at you now. I mean, it's a whole new world for you, a whole new world. Right?
And I wanted to give up. I remember when I got that plane ticket, I remember saying the check that I was using to buy my ticket bounced 30 minutes before my flight. And I thought I was going to, the money that I was going to have. And I knew that I had 2 hours to get to the airport, Thomas. 2 hours.
Wow.
I had to go to New York City to cash this check, right? And I had to catch the path to New York City. Know
all about it. Know all about it.
I had to go to New York to cash this check so that I can have money to get on the plane, because I already bought my tickets, right? And I was terrified that I was going to miss my plane. I felt like it was going to be a destiny move. I knew it in my gut. And I remember I panicked and I said, I've got to get this check cashed because I'm leaving in 2 hours. I went there they wouldn't cash a check for, back then it was a lot harder to cash checks from third-party checks. It was a lot harder. Yeah. So I came back from New York, and I remember saying, I'm just going to go. I had $10 in my pocket. That's all I had. And I had $10 and 10 diapers for my 7 months. $10 and 10 diapers. And I remember my family saying, my aunt was asking me, are you sure? Do you have enough money saved up? I knew that I was following the obedience and the leading of God. I just didn't know how to communicate that. And I was like, I'm straight. And I went to Florida. Nobody knew how much money I had. I never said anything. I didn't say it. I didn't say I had $10 and 10 diapers, but God carried me through until I got to where I needed to be, where the favor was. All I needed to do was get there.
Yeah, show up. Just show up. Yeah, he do the rest. Just show up. He will do the rest. Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we could go on and on, but we at the top of the hour. We at the top of the hour, just like that. You know what I mean? It was great. Awesome, man. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Definitely.
That was good.
Definitely. Well, guys, it's been amazing. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure that you join our Facebook group, Dinner with the Coaches, if you haven't done so already. And Thomas and I, we have some amazing things that we're planning in that group, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. If you are watching us for the first time, send us a message and let us know how much Dinner with the Coaches has helped you. If you would like to be a guest on Dinner with the Coaches, make sure you send us an inbox at the @ Dinner with the Coaches, and we'll see you on the next time. Thanks, guys, for watching. Have an amazing evening.
I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I wake again.